Good morning students, I welcome you again. Today we are going to discuss the next topic that comes under controlling process, right? We have already done the meaning of controlling students. We have already learned about the importance and features of controlling students. We have already studied the controlling process. Now today we are going to do the last topic that comes under controlling chapter students, and the name of the last topic is relationship between planning and controlling. As you know students, there are 5 functions of management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Planning is the first function and controlling is the last function of management students. So in planning is a thinking function and controlling is the checking function. So what are the relationship between planning and controlling? Is there any relationship between planning and controlling? Yes, there is a relationship between planning and controlling. Right students, planning प्रेजेंट में की जाती है फ्यूचर के लिए, और कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर स्टूडेंट्स हमें पास्ट में आना पड़ता है, प्लानिंग पर आना पड़ता है टू चेक दैट वेदर वर्क इज कैरिड आउट एज पर द प्लान्स और अकॉर्डिंग टू प्लान्स और नॉट. Therefore, students, planning and controlling are interrelated or interdependent activities. Right, students? So, today's topic is relationship between planning and controlling. Right, students? Planning and controlling are inseparable twins of management. They are interrelated and interdependent function of management, students. Right? Planning helps decide in advance what to do, where to do, how to do, and who is to do it. Right students? And controlling, if we want controlling setting objective, right students, then measuring performance, comparing the performance with standard, and then finding out the deviation difference nikalna, and then taking corrective measures. Right? So in this topic, in today's topic, we are learn about the relationship between planning and controlling, how planning and controlling are inseparable twins of management. Right? How planning are interrelated or interdependent activities. Right? So let's start students. Relationship between planning and controlling. Planning and controlling are mutually interrelated and interdependent activities. They are inseparable twins of management. Now how students they are inseparable twins of management? Students, आपने टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट ने प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज बनाए. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, अब उन प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज में कन्वर्ट करवाने का काम किसका है? मैनेजर कंट्रोलर का है. ऑफ कोर्स विद द हेल्प ऑफ लोअर लेवल मैनेजमेंट एंड देन वर्कर्स एंड लेबर्स. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, इफ देयर इज नो प्लानिंग, देयर इज नो बेसिस ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग. अगर प्लानिंग के अंदर प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज ही नहीं होंगे तो आप कंट्रोलिंग में आप चेक क्या करेंगे? राइट स्टूडेंट्स, अगेन द सेकेंड पॉइंट स्टूडेंट्स, इफ देयर इज नो कंट्रोलिंग प्रोसेस, राइट, तो प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को चेक करने वाला कौन होगा? That's why students, planning and controlling are interrelated and interdependent activities. So let's discuss the 7 points that comes under relationship between planning and controlling. Controlling is blind without planning. Controlling take place on basis of a standard of performance developed by planning. Of course students, प्लानिंग के अंदर हम स्टैंडर्ड रिवाइज करते हैं, स्टैंडर्ड को डेवलप करते हैं, और कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर हम उस स्टैंडर्ड को अचीव करवाते हैं थ्रू गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज. इफ द स्टैंडर्ड्स आर नॉट सेट इन एडवांस, मैनेजर्स हैव नथिंग टू कंट्रोल. Thus, controlling is blind without planning, because where there is no plan, there is no basis of controlling. I hope it is very much clear to students that अगर प्लानिंग ही नहीं होगी तो कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर आप चेक क्या करेंगे? कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर आप प्रोडक्ट्स किस तरीके से बनवाएंगे? व्हाट आर द स्टैंडर्ड्स? क्योंकि जो डेली के स्टैंडर्ड्स होते हैं वो प्लानिंग के अकॉर्डिंग टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट ट्रांसफर इट टू द मैनेजर कंट्रोलर, और मैनेजर कंट्रोलर ट्रांसफर इट टू द वर्कर्स एंड लेबर्स. सो लेट डिस्कस दिस पॉइंट अगेन स्टूडेंट्स. कंट्रोलिंग इज ब्लाइंड विदाउट प्लानिंग. कंट्रोलिंग टेक प्लेस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस developed by planning. If the standards are not set in advance, managers have nothing to control. Thus, controlling is blind without planning, because where there is no plan, there is no basis of controlling. I hope students, the very first point, it is very much clear to you students. Now, the second point students is planning without controlling is meaningless. Of course students, planning is meaningless without controlling. When there is no controlling process, then planning is useless. The controlling function is performed to ensure that the events conform to plans, work according to plans. This is the main goal, main aim of controlling function. right students, कि what are the standards has been set in controlling has to do as per the standards. The work of controlling begins after planning process, right students. प्लानिंग के अंदर हम स्टैंडर्ड्स को सेट करते हैं और कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर हम उन्हीं स्टैंडर्ड्स को गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज में कन्वर्ट कराते हैं with the help of workers and laborers. So students, planning without controlling is meaningless. The controlling function is performed to ensure that the events conform to plans work according to plans. Once a plan is implemented, controlling is necessary to monitor the progress. And students, we have to monitor the progress. Of course, in the very previous video, I have already told you that manager controller can check the progress of work in 3 ways. The very first is sample checking. Second is students performance report. Third is personal observation. Through these 3 tools, the manager controller can check the standard of the workers to be done in the production department. So students, controlling is necessary to monitor the progress, measure it, identify and analyze deviations, and taking corrective actions. Right students? To ensure that events conform to plans. Thus, planning is meaningless without controlling. Planning has no meaning if there is no basis of controlling students. वर्क को हम एक्टिविटी को हम प्लानिंग की रेल पे रखते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, और उसको सही जगह पे कौन पहुंचाता है? कंट्रोलिंग पहुंचाता है, राइट? So let's discuss the second point again students. The controlling function is performed to ensure that the events, that the work conform to plans. Work conform to plans. Once a plan is implemented, controlling is necessary to monitor the progress, measure it, identify and analyze deviation, and take corrective actions to ensure that events conform to plans or work conform to plans. Thus, planning is meaningless without controlling. I hope students this is very much clear to you. Now come to the third one. Planning is prescriptive and controlling is evaluative. Prescriptive means thinking function of management, right students? Planning function of management, and controlling is evaluative function of management, checking function of management. So planning is prescriptive and controlling is evaluative. So let's discuss the third point students. Planning is a process involving thinking and analysis to discover an appropriate course of action for achieving objectives. Controlling, on the other hand, evaluates whether decisions have been translated into desired action. Planning is thus prospective, whereas controlling is evaluative. I hope students with the above point it is very much clear to you that planning is a thinking function and controlling is a doing function. In planning, the top level management decides the blueprint for the entire organization, and in that blueprint कितनी production रखनी है, कितना sales रखना है, कितना target market रखना है, ये decide होता है, right students? और इसको actually में convert किया जाता है with the process of controlling function. So let's discuss the third point again students. Planning is prescriptive and controlling is evaluative. Planning is a process involving thinking and analyzing to discover an appropriate course of action for achieving objectives. Controlling, on the other hand, evaluates whether decisions have been translated into desired actions. Planning is thus prescriptive, whereas controlling is evaluative. I hope students this is very much clear to you. Now come to the fourth point that comes under relationship between planning and controlling. The fourth point is planning and controlling are both backward looking functions or forward looking functions. We have to discuss one by one that planning and controlling are both forward looking function. Of course students, planning तो आप जानते हैं, in planning is done in present for future. Planning is based upon forecasting. Planning is a trap to capture the future. Planning helps decide in advance what to do, where to do, how to do, and who is to do it. Right students? So planning is a forward-looking function. Controlling is also a forward-looking function because students corrective actions जो भी लेने हैं एक मैनेजर कंट्रोलर को, वो उसको पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस के बेसिस पर फ्यूचर में लेने हैं. आई रिपीट स्टूडेंट्स, कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर जो भी उसको करेक्टिव एक्शंस लेने हैं वो अब पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस के बेस पर फ्यूचर में लेने हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, देयर इज वन वर्कर, स्टैंडर्ड था 100 गुड्स बनाने का, उस एक वर्कर ने 90 गुड्स बनाए हैं. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, अब 90 गुड्स जो बनाए हैं वो प्रोडक्शन कम हुआ है उसके अंदर, वो 10 गुड्स का जो गैप है मैनेजर कंट्रोलर उसको रिमूव करने की कोशिश करेगा. मैनेजर कंट्रोलर टेक द करेक्टिव एक्शंस दैट पर्टिकुलर वर्कर विल मेक द 100 गुड्स. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, और ये सारे काम कब होंगे? ये सारे काम आगे चलकर होंगे, फ्यूचर में होंगे. तो उसमें पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस के मेजर से फ्यूचर में उस रेक्टिफिकेशन को कम करने की कोशिश करी, उस रेक्टिफिकेशन को पूरा करने की कोशिश करी स्टूडेंट्स इन द फॉर्म कि आगे चलकर उस वर्कर से 100 गुड्स मैक्सिमम बनने चाहिए, या 100 टू नियरेस्ट गुड्स मैक्सिमम बनने चाहिए. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, सो प्लानिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग आर बोथ फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग फंक्शन स्टूडेंट्स. सो लेट डिस्कस. Plans are prepared for future and are based on forecast about future conditions. Therefore, planning involves looking ahead and is called a forward-looking or looking ahead function. Controlling is also forward-looking because the corrective action initiated by controlling function aims to improve future performance. Right, students, what are the corrective actions? जो भी corrective actions लेगा manager controller to improve the performance of वर्कर्स, टू इम्प्रूव द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड्स, जो फ्यूचर में लेगा. और ये इंफॉर्मेशन, ये डेटा सो कहां से मिलेगा? पहले किए हुए काम से मिलेगा, यानी कि पास्ट से मिलेगा. तो आई होप इट स्टूडेंट्स इट इज वेरी मच क्लियर टू यू. प्लानिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग आर बोथ फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग फंक्शंस. सो लेट्स डिस्कस अगेन स्टूडेंट्स. प्लान्स आर प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर फ्यूचर एंड आर बेस्ड ऑन फोरकास्ट अबाउट फ्यूचर कंडीशंस. Therefore, planning involves looking ahead and is called a forward-looking or looking ahead function. Controlling is forward-looking because the corrective action initiated by controlling function aims to improve future performance. I hope, student, this is very much clear to you. Now come to the fifth point. Planning and controlling are backward-looking function. Of course, students, planning is also a backward-looking function and controlling is also a backward-looking function because the management has to make the plans and policies for the current year on the basis of last year. राइट स्टूडेंट, सपोज करिए कि एक कंपनी है, उसका लास्ट ईयर जो प्रोडक्शन था वो 20,000 यूनिट्स था. नाउ ईच एंड एवरी कंपनी ट्राइज टू मैक्सिमाइज द प्रोडक्शन इन द करंट ईयर और आगे चलकर तो इट इंक्रीजेस की 20,000 प्रोडक्शन के यूनिट से हमारा आगे का जो प्रोडक्शन है, नेक्स्ट ईयर का जो प्रोडक्शन है, या जो हम आज करंट ईयर में बना रहे हैं, वो उससे ज्यादा होना चाहिए. सो प्लानिंग इज अगेन बैकवर्ड लुकिंग फंक्शन स्टूडेंट्स, और कंट्रोलिंग इज ऑल्सो अ बैकवर्ड लुकिंग फंक्शन क्योंकि कंट्रोलिंग के अंदर आप प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को चेक करते हैं. प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को चेक करते हुए आप वर्कर से गुड्स बनवाते हैं. राइट स्टूडेंट्स, कि व्हाट आर द प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज डिसाइडेड बाय द टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट हैज टू बी एग्जीक्यूटेड इन द करंट परफॉर्मेंस. सो प्लानिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग आर बोथ बैकवर्ड लुकिंग फंक्शन. सो लेट्स डिस्कस स्टूडेंट्स. प्लानिंग इज लुकिंग बैक because new planning is guided by the past experience, जो last year के plans and policies थे. Controlling like a post-mortem of the past activity to find out the deviation from the standards, कितने goods दिए और कितना difference आया. In that sense, controlling is a backward-looking function or looking back function. I hope students the very fifth point is very much clear to you. So planning and controlling are both backward-looking functions, students. Planning is looking back because new planning is guided by the past experience. Controlling is like a post-mortem of the past activity. जो भी past activity है उसका post-mortem कि अगर what are the reasons कि ये deviation क्यों आया है, defective machinery है, defective material है, worker की negligence है, raw material ठीक time पे नहीं पहुंचा है. These are the post-mortem of the past activities so as to improve the future standard performance of each and every worker in the organization. So controlling is like a post-mortem of past activities to find out deviations from the standards. In that sense, controlling is a backward-looking or looking back function. I hope, students, the fifth point is very much clear to you. So, under relationship between planning and controlling are interrelated or interdependent activity. They are the separable twins of management, students. Now come to the sixth point, student. What do you mean by the term planning and what do you mean by the term controlling? Controlling function can be defined as comparison of actual performance with the planned performance. If there is any difference or deviation, then finding the reason of such difference and then taking corrective measures. Now students, what are the corrective measures taken by the manager controller under controlling process? Defective material hai students, right? Then change the quality of the material used. If there is, student, any defective machinery, repair the existing machine or replace the machine if it cannot be repaired. Obsolete machinery हो जाती है अगर students, right? To undertake technological upgradation of the machinery. Defective process, अगर controlling का process में कोई defect आ रहा है, then modify the existing process. Defective physical handling of work, right students? Physical conditions हैं to improve the physical conditions of work also. I hope students these are the corrective measures that the manager controller has to be taken under controlling process, students, right? So planning refers to the process of setting objective for a given time period, right? So what, in a nutshell, what is the meaning of planning? Selecting from among various alternatives by the top level management, and then set a blueprint for the entire organization. And for the entire organization means it consists of top level management itself, middle level management, and lower level management. So students, planning is the process of setting objective for a given time period, making various courses of action to achieve them, and then selecting the best alternative from among the various courses of action available. जो जितनी भी हमारे पास मार्केट इन्फॉर्मेशन है, वॉट एवर द मार्केट इन्फॉर्मेशन वी हैव गैदर्ड, वॉट एवर द एनालिसिस वी हैव गैदर्ड, वॉट आर द प्रेजेंट मार्केट सर्कमस्टांसेस, वॉट आर द डिमांड, राइट स्टूडेंट्स, ऑफ द कस्टमर, टेस्ट प्रेफरेंस ऑफ द कस्टमर्स, वी हैव टू सिलेक्ट द बेस्ट फ्रॉम देम, राइट स्टूडेंट्स. ऑफ कोर्स इसमें कॉम्पिटिटर्स की भी व्यू आ जाते हैं, कॉम्पिटिटर्स का भी हमें वर्क देखना होता है, राइट, अमंग वेरियस कोर्सेज ऑफ एक्शन अवेलेबल. It bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to reach. हम आज कहाँ हैं और कल कहाँ जाना चाहते हैं अपनी कंपनी को लेकर, of course with the help of positive goal, target, profit. It is basically a function of thinking before doing. So planning is a trap to capture the future. Planning helps decide in advance what to do, where to do, how to do, and who is to do it. And students, controlling, you know it very well. Compare the giving the standards, then measuring the performance, and then finding out the difference between the standard and performance, and then taking corrective action. Alright students, I hope this is very much clear to you. So in a nutshell, students, controlling is blind without planning, under relationship between planning and controlling. Planning without controlling is meaningless. Planning is prescriptive and controlling is evaluative. Thinking function, doing function. Planning and controlling are both backward looking function. Planning and controlling both backward looking as well as forward looking function. Right students? So these are the definition of planning and controlling, students. Now come to the conclusion. What conclusion can we draw from this topic, the relationship between planning and controlling? Right students? So this is supposed to be the conclusion, students. Planning and controlling are interrelated and in fact reinforce each other, in the sense that planning based on facts make controlling easier. Right students? Planning based on fact makes controlling easier, and effective controlling improves future planning. प्लानिंग के अंदर जितने भी फैक्ट्स होंगे, जितने भी स्टैंडर्ड्स होंगे, गोल, टारगेट, प्रॉफिट, जो भी ब्लूप्रिंट होगा, वो जितना सिंपलर होगा, मैनेजर कंट्रोलर उतनी ही आसानी से वर्कर्स को दे सकता है, वर्कर्स से स्टैंडर्ड टारगेट अचीव करवा सकता है ऑन डेली बेसिस, वीकली बेसिस और मंथली बेसिस, एज डिसाइडेड बाय द गोल बाय द टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट. सो स्टूडेंट्स, planning and controlling are interrelated and in fact reinforce each other, in the sense that planning based on facts makes controlling easier and effective, and controlling improves future planning by providing information derived from the past experience. Planning and controlling cannot be separated, as I told you earlier, students. Planning makes controlling effective and efficient, whereas controlling improves future planning. राइट, एक्टिविटीज आर पुट ऑन रेल, और उसको सही डेस्टिनेशन पे कौन पहुंचाती है, राइट स्टूडेंट्स, विद द हेल्प ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग. सो एक्टिविटीज आर पुट ऑन रेल बाय प्लानिंग, बट दे आर kept on right place by means of controlling. So both the functions are interlinked and interdependent. As for successful execution of both the function, planning and controlling must support each other. स्टूडेंट्स, अगर प्लानिंग नहीं होगी तो आप कंट्रोलिंग में चेक क्या करोगे, और स्टूडेंट्स अगर कंट्रोलिंग नहीं होगी तो प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को चेक करने वाला कौन होगा. सो स्टूडेंट्स, सो both the functions are interlinked and interdependent. As for successful execution of both the function, planning and controlling must support each other. Planning without controlling is meaningless, students, and controlling without planning is blind. प्लानिंग विदाउट कंट्रोलिंग इज मीनिंगलेस. ऑफ कोर्स स्टूडेंट्स, जब प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को चेक करने वाला कोई है ही नहीं, प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज को गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज में ट्रांसफर किस तरीके से करना है, कितना करवाना है डेली बेसिस पर, इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल अगर कंट्रोलिंग नहीं होगी. एंड कंट्रोलिंग विदाउट प्लानिंग इज ब्लाइंड. I hope student this is very much clear to you. So this comes under the relationship between planning and controlling the students. So let's discuss again students the relationship between planning and controlling the students. So we can say that planning and controlling are interrelated and interdependent function students, right? Planning and controlling are inseparable twins of management. Planning and controlling function always depends on each other students, right? The controlling function compares actual performance with the planned performance, right? And if there is no planned performance, then controlling manager will not be able to know whether the actual performance is okay or not. So thus planning is prospective and controlling is evaluative. So conclusion students ये कहता है both the functions are interlinked and interdependent for successful execution of both the functions. Planning and controlling must support each other. Planning without controlling is meaningless, right students? And controlling without planning is blind. Of course students, this is supposed to be the main step that comes under relationship between planning and controlling the students, right? So controlling function can be defined as comparison of actual performance with the planned performance. If there is any difference or deviation, then finding out the reason for such difference and then taking corrective measures. Planning refers to the process of setting objective for a given time period, making various courses of action to achieve them, and select then best alternative among various courses of action available. It bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to reach. Right students? So I hope it is very much clear to you. So planning and controlling are interrelated or interdependent activity. Planning अगर नहीं होगी तो controlling useless है, और अगर controlling नहीं होगी तो planning is blind. Now students, it is very much clear to you. Now we have discussed this topic clearly. Now under controlling there are three topics students. The very first is features of controlling, then importance of controlling, then process of controlling, then the last topic that is relationship between planning and controlling. It's a small chapter. It consists of 5 marks students, right? So under this chapter students, two important topics are there: relationship between planning and controlling, and the steps to be followed under controlling process with the manager controller, and third one students is the relationship के अलावा students importance of controlling process. Right students, go through the video very much carefully, learn the notes, and if you find any difficulty students, you can ask me anytime. Thank you students.